Legal nurse consultants are indispensable allies in the healthcare and legal sectors. In today's video, we explore the diverse range of services that legal nurse consultants can provide. So, whether you're navigating complex medical issues, ensuring compliance with healthcare standards, or providing crucial expert testimony, understanding these services is essential for healthcare professionals and legal teams alike. So, join me as we uncover the pivotal role legal nurse consultants play in bridging that gap between medicine and law. I got a great message from a nurse the other day who is interested in moving into the field of legal nurse consulting, but she doesn't know what you can do. So her question was centered around what kinds of services and things can you do while working as a legal nurse consultant? So I can come up with some ideas off the top of my head, but I want to make sure that this is very inclusive. So what I did is I actually enlisted the help of my good old friend, ChatGPT, to help me come up with a list of all the different things that nurses can do. I'm also going to chime in. I'm going to elaborate on this list, but I want to share those things with you right now. So first and foremost, I want to start by saying you can help with anything that involves medical records, anything that you can think of. I will say that most nurses, I think, tend to pigeonhole what you can do in reviewing medical records and trying to organize those and share what you know about what you're reading, like give some medical education, right? And those are all great things. And I do think that that is a huge basis of what we do. That's not all we can do. Okay. So I want to go through different ideas with you of the things that we can do, but just know your imagination is your only limit. If it involves medical records in any way, there is some aspect and some avenue of something that you can do. There's something there. So keep that in mind and get creative. Okay. So first of all, as I said, the basis is we're evaluating these cases, right? And we're providing an analysis. Not all the time. It depends on the needs of our client. So most legal nurses will obtain the medical records. We're going to review all these medical records. We're going to organize a great timeline of everything that's relevant that occurred based on the information we get from our attorney clients of what the case is about, what's going on. And we're going to look at these records and we are going to provide them with an amazing chronology, right? Or timeline of the events that occurred that are relevant, right? We may even take it a step further and provide them with education. Not all attorneys want that, which is why you need to have a conversation with your clients. Ask them what it is they actually want from you. Make sure you have a good conversation. This is why consultations are so important. You need to make sure you understand the needs of your client before you start working, because you don't want to waste their money and you don't want to waste your time on things that are not relevant or not asked for, right? So you will review those records. You might provide education to them, explain to them what certain disease processes mean, explain to them whether the client was compliant with their treatment or not, or if you saw any inconsistencies within their treatment plan, or one doctor says this, another doctor is being very contradictory and saying something completely different. If when reviewing it, you notice things are missing, right? You're going to be able to notice so much more by reviewing these records than they're going to know. They don't have the experience that you have. They've never worked in the hospital. They're not going through medical records the same way you are. They didn't go to school, whether it be med school, nursing school. They didn't go, right? Well, some do, but for the most part, they didn't go, right? So they depend on you for that medical insight. They need your keen eye to find things and to give them a heads up and to alert them of the different things that you are finding. They're going to take that information and use it to really help bolster and build that case, right? They're handling the legal stuff, but they need you for that medical stuff, right? So this is case evaluation and analysis and medical record review, right? What you can also do is provide them with research. You know, if they're, hey, I've got this situation, I've got this thing going on, but I'm trying to find a way to help my client, but I can't find any evidence or support or proof, or I need something to help strengthen my case. Maybe they're not asking you to look at those medical records. They may be wanting you to do medical research. As medical professionals, we have access to different medical databases and different things that they don't have access to. One amazing one is actually a online database. It's called UpToDate. It does cost money. I mean, it's a little bit pricey, I think, but you get access for the whole year. But for things like this, doing medical research, which you probably are going to want to do that if you're providing analysis and education on a medical case anyway from doing reviews. You're going to want to supply them with some proof of some of the things you're doing when you're analyzing these records and what's going on. But it's a great resource. You could just supply them with the literature they need. I know I've had a case in the past where I did actually do some review for this client, but it was several months later. They were asking me if I could find some kind of research to help give them additional support to refute something that the medical expert on the opposing side had said. Something that they said. They were like, oh, they should have healed from this after X amount of weeks. None of this should be related to the case. This should be dismissed, blah, 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 right? And so they were like, please see if you can find something, right? So they were asking me to perform research for them. You can do this separate from, had I not reviewed that case at all. He's asking me to find some kind of medical evidence that could refute a statement from another medical expert. And again, I don't have the same credentials as that medical expert on the other side. It was a physician who specializes in something I don't specialize in. I'm an RN. I'm not a doctor. But when I'm looking for the research, what I'm looking for is there anything that could put a crack in his statement? Could I create any kind of doubt? So he made a statement of absolute certainty. There is absolutely no way it could be related because of XYZ. This is completely unrelated, blah, 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 right? I don't have to prove that it is related. All I have to do is find evidence, peer-reviewed support, something to give my attorney client in order for him to create some doubt, right? Is there any evidence or any kind of medical support that I can give them that could lead them to the potential of, it's possible something is related because of XYZ. Of course, I don't just look up the research and I say, here you go. I get the research, I make the connections, I'm still educating, I'm still explaining, I'm using my medical knowledge and experience and expertise. I'm using those things to explain this research and this literature to help supply them with that strength they're looking for and support for their case, right? So literature, you can do literature as well and some research. You can work as an expert witness. That's huge. I personally don't do that, but there's so many people who do. You could be an expert for a case. So it's a little bit different than doing behind the scenes work because you're going on the stand and you're testifying and giving a medical opinion, and you're using all of your knowledge and experience in the medical field to support that opinion. Now, keep in mind, any opinions that you give, you can't just say whatever you want, how you think, how you feel. You got to have support behind you. So again, as I mentioned, the literature and the research, you're going to be doing those things. And you're going to have all these resources, because if you're going to give an opinion and you're going to make statements, right, for that opinion, you're going to need to have something to support it and to back it up. Because what you don't want is to give an opinion and then somebody questions you. And after that first question, you just completely crumble and you're just like, I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I thought that, right? That's the only time it becomes a little bit scary. But as long as everything that you're saying, you have a peer-reviewed article and you have evidence that supports what you say, you're covered, you're good, right? And again, if you're going to be working as an expert witness, you're going to be working with the attorney who retains you as an expert witness. You're not in it alone, I promise you. If you are retained by an attorney, you now have the responsibility to communicate with that attorney for all your wants and needs, right? If you're confused by anything, if you feel like you don't have enough info, if you have a question or you're uncertain about something, you're going to have conversations with an attorney. You guys are now teammates. You work together. You're on the same team. You're there for a common purpose, right? There's nothing to be scared of. So if you have questions or concerns or whatever the case may be, if something comes up, that is your go-to person. You're going to talk to that attorney because you guys are now on the same team. You're working together. Okay. But expert witness services is very popular. And I would say that it's very much needed. So we need experts and people who have a lot of experience in their field. And don't worry about whether you think you have enough experience or not. The person who decides whether you qualify to be an expert is going to be the judge in that courtroom. Your attorney can make the decision for themselves whether they feel like you're appropriate based on your experience, or if you're not appropriate. They will make that call. They'll present you to the judge. The judge will make that call if they deem you an expert. If they decide you're not an expert, well, the decision's been made for you. Maybe you need a little more experience. I don't know. You're probably not going to get before the judge, though, if they don't think that you're going to be a good fit. But don't let that discourage you. Maybe you just need a little bit more experience and a little more time, or maybe they just happen to find somebody else who has way more experience than you do. But keep in mind, medical professionals are retiring all the time. Some niches are just really, really small. And so it could be somebody with a year or two of experience. They may be the right fit for that need because it's so rare. You don't know. So before you discount that out, talk to the attorney, have that conversation. Just be completely frank and honest about your experience, how many years you've done it, what you know, what you've been exposed to. Have conversation. They will let you know if they feel like you're going to be a good fit. And if they say you're not, don't get upset. Don't take it personal. They want what's best for their case and for their client, but so do you. You hope it's you, but at the same time, you want what's best for them too. And if it's not you in that moment, then you should be glad that they're not putting you in a position that you're not a good fit for, right? So, an expert witness, it's needed. Don't knock that. That's a great option, right? Let's see what else. Helping to prepare them for deposition, doing deposition preparation or trial preparation. You could help your attorneys with developing questions to ask at cross-examination, or if we're having, let's say, a medical malpractice case, and you're reviewing these records and you're thinking, oh my God, what did this person do? Right? I don't see documentation for this, for that, or oh my gosh, they did this instead of doing this, which is what they should have done. This is where your expertise comes into play, right? When you're looking at these things and when you see mistakes that have been made or missing documentation, it's going to elicit questions in your mind. Why was it done this way and not this way? Where is this documentation? Where is that? You're going to start asking questions. And what's great about that is you take these questions and you take them to your attorney client and you say, hey, Nurse Jones did XYZ, and this is really strange. You're going to give them some education, but you're going to say, I would depose this nurse, and here's why I would depose them, and here's what I would ask, and here's why I would ask this question. And if they answer like this would be my follow-up question. But if they answer like this would be my follow-up question. And the reason these questions are important is because of blank. So you see, you're kind of taking them down this path, but you're helping them understand not just what to ask, but the relevancy of those questions and how they connect and lead down a path to paint that larger picture. Because maybe on paper, it looks like, oh my God, this person made so many mistakes and did terrible stuff. But by getting the answers to these questions, we get a whole new picture, and it's, oh, that makes complete sense. Oh, okay, that's great. And if you're there during deposition, or you're present, you're able to observe or whatever, and you have a way to talk with the attorneys on breaks or in between, you can let them know, hey, when they answered like this makes complete sense, but this is making me think maybe instead we should ask this follow-up question, and da-da-da-da-da. It's going to spawn more conversations, and you're going to be able to be incredibly helpful. Same thing if you're at trial. If you're at trial and you're listening to the questioning of somebody maybe who's on the opposing side, and based on something that they say, if something just doesn't sound quite right, or if you're like, oh my gosh, that person is making that up, or I just caught them in something, you're going to want to tell your attorney client. You're there as a support. Again, teamwork, right? And then you also can help prepare any visuals, displays, help them with explaining in layman's terms different medical conditions and disease processes. Again, you're kind of the liaison between all the medical stuff going on and then like the average everyday person, because that's what the jury is filled with, average everyday people. You might have some medical folks in there, but you might not, right? So the best thing to do is to be that resource and that liaison for your attorney client, and you're helping explain it in a way that is not just intelligent, but is also in simple, basic terms, so that they understand it very well and also have a great way or a great idea of you helping them how to explain it or word it. So one, who's ever on the stand can understand it, and two, anyone in the jury can understand as well. So very, very valuable, right? When it comes to standards of care, that's very prevalent in medical malpractice cases. So knowing what should have been done, what's considered appropriate, what those standards are, this is an education piece. You're going to want to explain those things to your attorney client. You might actually work with some medical experts, folks who are medical experts, and maybe you help them with organizing their medical records, and you're kind of giving it a quick once over, and you're organizing in a way that makes the best sense for them so that they can focus on their medical expertise and what they have been retained to do. So maybe you're kind of working as a team with a medical expert and you're assisting them to a degree. It's quite possible. And you're trying to help organize and cut down on all the administrative time they spend so they can just dive right in to doing their review for their expert opinion and gathering. And that's another thing. You can do research for them too. Help gather support and things, for that case. So it's a very important job. There's a lot of things we can do here. Education to, maybe you're giving education to a client. So I'm trying to think of, I don't know, maybe if there's a workman's comp case and you're giving some education to the client, or maybe you're working as a caseworker or case manager and doing some liaison work for the firm and their clients. But you might have contact with a client where you're providing some education, right? If you're helping the attorneys come up with strategies, right? If you have good open communication with your attorney client and they discuss strategy, well, maybe we can go down this path, or maybe we can go down that path. And you could say, well, it sounds good at first, but like medically, I don't think we can support it because of XYZ. Or if you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's a great idea. I saw some stuff in the records and we could have some great support for that. And again, you're collaborating, you are a team, right? So you're helping to come up with strategy, right? And you're giving them the medical component because they have the legal component, and you're coming together to create a good strategy. Coming up with damage assessments. This is probably going to fall a little bit more under life care planning, but you can actually really, really help them out by looking at not just the medical records, but the medical bills that are related to those records and the treatments and services that were provided. You can figure out what the projected costs are going to be for that person's medical care going forward. So it's you don't have to be a life care planner to look just at billing, because you might help them collect all of their medical expenses and billing expenses that have happened thus far leading up to trial. And that kind of helps the attorneys with figuring out the damages and what they're going to be asking for or suing for. That is a piece of the puzzle. And you can help with that. That doesn't quite fall under life care planning. Life care planners can do it too, but non-life care planner legal nurses can do this as well. This is one of the services that I offer in my business, and I am not a life care planner, not me directly. But also with the life care planners, you're looking at the future care. So anytime you're looking into the future, this is where you're looking at those life care planners. That is a subspecialty of legal nurse consulting that has its own training, and it's got a lot more to it. So I would probably not rush right into that just at the beginning, but again, you know you best. So if you know that's what you want to do, go for it. But I think it would probably be good to gain a little experience first and deciding if that's the route you want to go. But for the life care plans, they will look at its more catastrophic injuries, I would say, figuring out those future medical costs, but you're also figuring out, are the costs that these doctors are charging, are they reasonable? Are these normal costs? They're not overcharging anybody based on what service is being provided, what geographical location they're in when they provide these services. And of course, for the year that it was provided, does it make sense that it's that much at that year? Because, we've got good old inflation year to year. So all of that kind of wraps into the life care planning, but that's something else that you can offer these attorneys. And it's another thing you can do in this field. You can work with insurance companies, looking at the insurance claims and looking at medical necessity. But again, as long as it falls within your scope. But again, this kind of goes along with you reviewing medical records and you're doing an analysis, right? Let's see. Okay, so there are some other, so kind of going outside, I think, of the law firms and attorneys and things like that. You don't have to just work with attorneys and law firms. You actually can get a focus on healthcare. You can, instead of working directly with the attorneys, which I feel like is a little bit of a reactive industry, meaning people have already been injured, or people have already been harmed in some way. And now what we're looking for is justice, and we want to make sure we're taking care of them and they're getting what they need. But I think if you switch gears and you move over to a healthcare side, you are now being more proactive. So, and what I mean by that is you're trying to affect change and incorporate yourself into an environment where you are just avoiding these issues from the start. So you're trying to improve upon, the stats of those who are harmed and injured, and you're trying to tackle it from a different avenue. So, but you can help with things like risk management, reducing risk management at a healthcare organization and for the staff that are employed there. When it comes to compliance, regulatory compliance and healthcare regulations and standards and things, you can help develop those policies and procedures for different hospital organizations and medical systems. Help with quality improvement within healthcare, right? Looking at different kinds of improvement initiatives and finding ways to make those make sense with the different workloads and things that each of the different specialties and practices within the hospital, right, are. Looking at patient advocacy, you could look into that realm. Let's see what else. There is more than just personal injury and medical malpractice as well. You have product liability cases. So if there's defective items or products that have harmed someone in some way, some kind of devices, you can consult on those kinds of cases. Workplace safety, that's pretty large. And you could help with developing safety protocols or training for whatever that organization is, whether it's probably a healthcare environment. But I mean, really, when it comes to safety, you could do that outside of a hospital or a healthcare organization as well. I know I did occupational health for a while, so I wasn't working in a healthcare organization. I was working at a not a warehouse. Now I can't even think of what you would call it, but kind of like a warehouse, but they were so large, they needed to have their own on-site clinic. So I was actually there in their clinic. But any kind of education, training, or care or anything like that, everybody who was there was not a healthcare worker. I was actually the only one present. So nobody there was a healthcare worker. And then, and then there's the good old defense medical exams, also known as independent medical exams. Those are for personal injury cases. So someone has been injured. The opposing side, who is the defendant, their attorney is going to request that the person who is injured go see an independent third-party physician to get, the goal is to get an independent, unbiased medical opinion of the treatments they've gotten thus far, their current medical condition, what they would anticipate this person's going to need by way of medical treatment in the future. Sometimes they want them to know what's that going to cost. If the doctor knows it, great. If they don't, they'll probably find another specialist who can help with that. But they need to get opinions on what their treatments were they appropriate, and where they currently are and where they're going to be and what they're going to need by way of medical care. So that is meant to be an independent, unbiased medical opinion. And again, there's a whole nother talk on these exams here. You could even call it its own subspecialty, but this is a great way to get your foot in the door. Working as a legal nurse is to do these exams. They are not hard to learn. The material, I'll say the content is not hard, but it is a little bit complex. There's a lot to learn, but again, it's not hard stuff. It's a little bit complex. It's just, you want to have a good trainer, a good teacher. Okay. But the commitment to doing this work is much less than all the other things we've talked about so far, right? And let's see if my chat GPT can give me some more stuff I haven't said. So I did ask it to give me a list of potential clients, because everybody kind of knows attorneys could be clients, but I want to make sure you know that there are other places, other people who can be your client as a consultant, and you don't have to work with them directly on their payroll as an employee. You can remain a consultant, but again, it just depends on what the need is, right? And what they're looking for. So yes, we have attorneys. So you can have medical malpractice, personal injury, an insurance, like defense attorney. I have a client who I help them with that too. They are a defense attorney and they are defending an insurance company. So a lot of motor vehicle accidents. So again, you're kind of flipping your switch a little bit and you're focusing on it from a defense standpoint, right? We mentioned product liability. I didn't even talk about criminal defense. My goodness, criminal defense. People who are being charged with different crimes and different things, and there's a medical component to it. You could have abuse cases, DUI cases, domestic abuse. I mean, if there's a medical component to it, you are valuable. You can provide value there. You can talk to healthcare organizations, hospitals, nursing homes, clinics, home health agencies, rehab centers. You can consult with them, like what we mentioned earlier, regulatory compliance, their health and safety policies and protocols, procedures, things like that, how to reduce risks of lawsuits. I will share, I'm currently in the process of trying to secure a position, consulting position, where I can consult with a hospital organization in my area. I'm trying to see if there's a way I can help them reduce their risks for medical malpractice cases. So that's, early on we're in the talks, but it's very exciting to think that I can go and be of service to my fellow healthcare providers, right? So we have those. You could, an insurance company, health insurance providers, liability insurers. There are workman's compensation insurers, government agencies, like the VA, or there's public health departments. There are state prisons. They require consulting as well. I'm going to tell you, prisons have a little bit of experience there. It's kind of messy. I would say they absolutely could use consultants in there. But it could be corporate. You could have a corporate client, pharmaceutical company, somebody who does medical devices, whether they do, it's an IT company. Again, anybody who's working with anything medical, you could potentially assist there. Anything related to patient advocacy and patient safety. And I had someone who told me one time, you should become a patient advocate, where you go out and you get clients who are actual patients and they pay you to help them set up things like their Medicare. And now I'm drawing a blank, but it's basically, if you have elderly folks who need help with filling out forms, putting things together to get their coverage, and, or if they have to fill out and submit claims for different things to get reimbursements. And I thought that was interesting. It's not something I've done, but could you do it? Yeah, you could. Why not? And then there's, we talked about risk management, of course, case management companies. If they handle catastrophic injuries, you could be very beneficial there. And one that I think a lot of people probably don't think of, which I think is an awesome opportunity, is education, as in schools. So going and talking to folks who are at nursing schools, or medical schools, or it could even be if somebody is going through a legal program, maybe you talk to, and here's my ignorance now, and something I haven't done, but anybody who's in law school, who's going through that, maybe if there is a way to talk to a certain school that offers whatever their legal program is. I'm drawing blanks. I can't think of anything right now, but you could talk to them about letting you talk to those future attorneys about, if you are wanting to go down that route of, workman's comp, personal injury, medical malpractice, or just, family law, or something that has a medical component or a health component to it, know you have resources, and it's teaching them you exist. because I'm going to tell you, teaching these attorneys that you are present and you are here for them is a huge hurdle because they just don't know you're there. It's just lack of exposure. So a lot of time is going to be spent educating attorneys. We're not salesy. You're not trying to be pushy. It all comes to education. And this is why it's, let me explain to you and talk to you. Let me show you what I can do for you. You're providing value to them through education. And then they're going to know better whether you're going to be a good fit for them or not. Don't take your no's personally. If someone's like, that's not for me, no thanks, I don't need that, I'm fine without that, I don't want to pay for that, whatever the case may be, just know you have very little control over getting an attorney or a client. I'm just going to say a client because as we've listed here, there's lots of different places you can work and people you can work with, right? So don't take a client no as in you're not good there. This isn't something you can do. It just means it's a not for them. And it might not even be a not for them forever. It could be a not for them right now. Okay. Just know that a lot of things have to align for you to get hired. And I don't say that to be discouraging, but you don't have control over most of these things. The only thing you have control over is showing up. Don't quit. Stick with this. Be consistent. Stick around. Don't leave this, because the worst thing, and I tell people, the worst thing in the world is you put in all this effort to reach out to attorneys or other clients, right? And you tell them, hey, here I am. I'm so-and-so. Here's what I can do. Let me explain and educate on my value and let me talk to you. And they say, not right now. And you say, oh, okay. So then you move on to the next person. Hey, how you doing? I'm so-and-so. Let me show you what I can do, right? I'd love to see if we're a good fit, if I can help you out. You're going to do this quite a bit, meeting people, right? Don't be pushy. Come with it more of a, I want to introduce myself. Maybe at some point I can be of value to you. Hey, if you need anything, any medical, let me know. I'd love to help you out. Just whenever, nope, whatever. So you're going to network with all kinds of people. But the worst thing is you're going, you know what? I put in all this time, all this energy. I'm not where I want to be right now. I don't feel like I'm making as much as I should be making right now. I'm done. I'm just going to go back to the hospital. I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to go back to my 9 to 5 or my shift work or whatever. I'm done. And then at a later point, these clients start turning around. Hey, so-and-so, are you available for this? Are you available for that? And I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of times what they're going to do, they're going to send you emails. They're not going to call you to talk to you directly. They're going to send emails to an email address you no longer check because you quit, because nobody's talking to you. You feel like you're not getting enough clients, right? And now you're getting emails and you're getting requests that you'll never see because you quit, right? Had you just held out a little longer, you would have started seeing that success, right? So all of this it all's kind of connected in here, but don't quit. That's really the worst thing. If you're going down this route, there's a reason you're going down this path to become a legal nurse consultant. There's something drawing you to this field. Don't give up on it so quickly. If this is truly where you want to be, don't let yourself get discouraged. Because I'm going to tell you right now, it is not easy. And the reason it's not easy is because you start as a team of one. You are one person. You don't have a ton of people around you who are going through the same thing you're going through. It's not like when you're in nursing school. It's not like when you start a new job, right? Because there's always someone else who is like, oh, I'm new too. Oh, you just got a job there? I just got a job there, right? Oh, you're in nursing school? I just started nursing school, right? We find commonalities with people who are going through the same stuff we're going through. But when you're doing this, it's remote work, working from home. You're working for yourself. You're generally yourself. You're you. This is also why networking is so important in this field. You need to have a network of support. You need professional support. You need to find like-minded people who are going through the same thing you're going through. It's great if you can have a mentor. 100% recommend you having a mentor, right? I can only be as available as I can be. I'm one person myself. I do have people that I collaborate with, and I have a mentor at the moment, and a former mentor who's currently also a friend who still does the mentor for me, but I do have go-to people. And if I didn't have go-to people, I probably wouldn't have made it as far as I did. Having the right people around you is very important, but make sure it's the right people. If it's somebody who likes to complain when you complain, that's not the right person. That sounds more like a personal support system. Like, oh, you feel you got wrong? Let's talk about how much this sucks, right? That's not a professional support. Professional support keeps you objective, sees the opportunities in your misery, right? And they help redirect you and get you back on board, right? That person's going to show you the support you need to get through your struggle, but they're also going to help give you guidance and direction because you want them to redirect you back and adjust that perspective back to where it needs to be, okay? Everybody needs that professional support, and I don't think we all find it, but I highly recommend you find it. Okay, so that wraps up for this video. There are so many things you can do as a legal nurse consultant. I guarantee you I haven't hit everything. I'm sure there's so much more out there that I didn't touch on, but again, if it's something that requires a medical record or has a medical component, there's no reason you can't consult on that. And what you actually can do with that need, the sky's the limit. And I can't tell you what it is myself. You have conversations with that person. Oh, really? You know, you're doing XYZ. Did you ever have a struggle or a frustration when doing XYZ? Let them tell you their problems and then use that to critically think through it and think, how can I provide solutions? That's my best advice, okay? If you're not sure how you can help someone, just be a human being and talk to them. Ask them questions. And once you have good rapport, ask them, like, what are you finding most challenging or most frustrating with blank? Pick something that is the medical piece that you're hoping they'll say something you can help with, right? You're kind of drawing it out of them with your questions, right? So that's my advice. There's lots you can do as a legal nurse, I know I repeat myself, but it's true. Stick around. There'll be more videos to come. See you in the next video.